What's up guys, welcome back to the shop. In today's video we're going to be making a Nikiri with copper. We're going to be using ADCRV2 for our core and our clad steel. Now with all of our surfaces nice and clean, we're going to make sure to weld all the way around the billet to make sure that the copper does not leak while in the forge. Here I'm giving it a coat of WD-40 just to help make sure that it doesn't oxidize too much on the outside. It's important to keep an eye on the steel, make sure that it doesn't get too hot or else the copper will melt. I'm going to be slowly pressing on the billet, try to make sure not to delaminate it, and try to get as much length as I can. Just taking little presses a little bit at a time, make sure not to be too aggressive with it. Copper tends to want to unstick, so it's important to be gentle with it so you don't delaminate it. I need more length, so I'm taking a whole bunch of baby presses just to gain a little bit more length so I can put my Nikiri template on top. Here I'm using a Pilot blue marker. It marks on pretty much any surface, and I use it versus using blue Dicom just because it's a lot cleaner and it dries instantly. I really like this stuff. I will look up an Amazon link for it and put it in the description in case you want to pick one up for yourself. Here I'm using a very aggressive wire wheel to get as much of the scale off. That way it is prepped for the surface grinder. That way I can get both sides as even as possible. Now we're ready to do some cycles on it and get it ready for heat treat. Here the steel does this really cool effect where it's cooling down and then it randomly heats back up and then cools down again. It has a specific name, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's pretty cool and I thought I'd show you guys. And we quench. And now the knife is out of the temper. I've cycled it twice for 2 hours at 400 degrees. And we start our finish grinds. And we enter every knife maker's dream. It's time to hand sand. I hand sand all the way up to 600 grit on this knife, and it took me a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours actually. For our handle material, we're going to be using black paper micarta, and I'm going to be pairing it with some orange D10 liners. It's going to look very, very nice. Also, we're going to be doing copper pins to tie everything back up together. Now it's time for glue up. I'm using 5-minute epoxy and I'm adding a black pigment into it. That way it just fills up any gaps and it looks prettier than just clear pigment. I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, I actually make a lot of them. And the black epoxy really helps out cover those mistakes up and makes it look a lot nicer than if not. Now that the epoxy has cured completely, it's time to grind our handle to shape. I'm going to cut off the pins on the bandsaw. That way I don't create extra friction and extra heat that I don't need. If you just go and grind them all, as I have learned, it really does weaken the epoxy bond that holds the handle onto the knife. Here I'm using a blue compound and a polishing belt just to polish up the handle. After make sure it's nice and clean, I etch it in some ferric chloride, and right after I will do a coffee etch to make sure it gets nice, bold, and dark. Here I make the rookie mistake of putting my knife in a container that does not fit. Therefore, I have to go find something bigger and put the knife in there and pour the coffee over it. But we get the job done, and that is what matters. And after about 3 hours in the coffee, it comes out nice and dark. Here I'm using a 220 grit diamond stone for sharpening. I use a diamond stone versus a water stone or wet stone because it does not dish and it has less maintenance, and it just makes life easier for me. And here I'm switching over to 1000 grit to get it nice and polished and get that edge super razor sharp. And finally I give it a strop and give it that quick paper test. And finally, I give it a coat of Axe Wax, which is food grade safe. I use that on all my kitchen knives, and it gives it really good layer of protection to keep it from rusting. And don't ask why it's in a plastic bag. I did not drop the lid and step on it. And this is me having fun with a tomato and my new knife. Enjoy. And if you like that cutting board and you want to get one for yourself, let me know in the comments down below and I can get some in stock. My brother makes them and he made this one for me not too long ago. So very satisfying.